I like business. I like building brands. I was probably 13, 14. We just got broadband, got this computer. And the first thing I started doing was Googling how to make money online. When I was 16, I was in sixth form. It's the equivalent to college. And I got kicked out. As soon as I got kicked out, it was full-time work.
You were no longer under your parents' roof. That means that you have to fend for yourself. You're the most vulnerable you can be in your life at that age.
People approach me and they'll say, Danny, I want to start a business. And I say the same thing to all of them. Just practice making money first. You have to do something, whatever that is. If you don't do this, there's so much you're going to miss out. You can't learn this stuff in school. The only way you learn is by doing it.
Did you have a mentor at any point that told you to save?
Every time you don't have anywhere to sleep, that money was a roof over your head. Whether it's 10, 20 pounds, I never used to spend it. The phone repair business was a risk for me. Starting the restaurant was a huge risk for me. I could have bought a G-Wagon, a Lamborghini and cashed a house. That would be my key advice. Take risks.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Abu Abdullah here. Before we get into the podcast, I'd like to welcome you to the Medina Project, a podcast dedicated to empowering Muslims with financial independence, locational freedom, and a legacy of righteousness bi-idhnillah azza wa jal. We're here to help and inspire Muslims like you to break into tech, real estate, and entrepreneurship, to build businesses that serve the ummah. On this podcast, we highlight Muslim entrepreneurs and their businesses, share with you game-changing insights, and give you the tools to transform your life so you can better serve Allah and your community. If you're ready to take that step with us, all I ask of you is to subscribe to the Medina Project, share to spread the khair, and join us on this journey where we're building stronger Muslim communities, one project at a time. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. My guest today is Brother Danny from the UK. Aslam from Pakistan. I gotta give Pakistan a shout out. Barakallah feek. So, alhamdulillah, me and the brother just met literally for the first time ever yesterday. And he had me at Nashville fried chicken.
We should have brought some over for you.
Wallah, we should have brought some, bro. I wish you guys had some here so we can eat it while we talk. But qadrallah ma sha fa'al. But for the next one, we'll have some bi-idhnillah, right? So let's jump right into it, akhi. So for those who do not know you, who is Danny?
Honestly, I'm just a normal person. Born in Birmingham. Live in Banbury, it's about an hour away. It's a small town. If you ask me what I do, then I like business. I like building brands. And that's me.
Allah barak. You were born and raised in the UK. And now you've worked, like as we spoke yesterday, you've done your own business for many years, walillah alhamd, and eventually you started this business that you're doing now. Take me back to the early years, the childhood, having brothers, growing up in the UK. What was that like?
Let me put it this way. So I've had a daughter now, and I really need her to have some siblings.
Why?
Growing up with siblings, it's a laugh. It's a good joke. Always fighting. One day you're friends, next day you're not again, and then 2 hours later everything's forgiven and you're friends again.
You fight, but you know your brother, so you cannot get rid of each other.
Of course
you cannot
not.
change it.
Of course not.
Allah Mubarak, beautiful. So at what age did you, or at what point, right, did you realize that you love business, you love entrepreneurship, and that this is a calling for you?
This is from early. I was probably 13, 14, and I think the internet, we just got broadband.
Right.
And we bought this new computer. And back then I had a top-of-the-range computer. I could plug a 1 gig memory stick into the front of it.
Yeah.
And the dial-up days had just finished.
Oh.
So we just got broadband, got this computer. And the first thing I started doing was Googling how to make money online.
Long time.
That was it. I found this company that pays you to fill out surveys. And it would probably pay you like around 5p, 10p a survey. And each survey would take half an hour, 45 minutes. So I would just be in my room for the whole day just filling out surveys.
You could do as many as you want.
You could do as many as you want. And you had to install, stupid things on the computer and little plugins in the browser. Eventually, I realized that it was taking way too long to make any money. And they had this affiliate scheme. And under the affiliate scheme, if you signed up other users, you would take a percentage of their income as well. So at the time, I remember I just bought this console. It was a PSP. And I found these forums where everybody's talking about PSPs and how to jailbreak them and hack them and do all of these sorts of things. So I created an account on there and I put my link in my signature. If you want to make money online, use my link here. And I would just spam these forums all day.
Oof.
You try to give some advice, but really you just wanted people to sign up to the link. So eventually I started doubling my income.
Wow.
And when I say double, I'm still only making £1 a day. You know, we're 14 years old, we're still only making £1 a day. And it was only when we started getting posts at the door with things that I'd bought with my points. And my mum was asking, you know, what are you doing up there? And I think that was what sparked it.
Oh, barak. And so you start making money with this. You have your brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Did you also let them know they can make money with this? Or did you gatekeep for some time because you're trying to make all the money for yourself?
They were too young. So I was doing my own thing.
You're the oldest?
I'm the oldest.
Okay.
So the second oldest, my brother Hassan, he's a few years younger than me.
Okay. But
there's a massive difference between 14 and 10.
True.
In your eyes as a 14-year-old anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm just there filling out forms, buying stuff. You know, you couldn't take the points out as money.
Yeah.
You could only buy stuff.
Ayo, Allah barak. MashaAllah. Okay. So then fast forward, where did that lead you to? At what point did you actually, decide? Because I mean, I'm assuming at that point, obviously, you're going to school.
Mm-hmm.
So just like most kids, especially kids of immigrants, we got to go to school, we got to become doctors, lawyers, whatever. Did you go down that path or what did you end up doing?
I didn't enjoy school. I didn't enjoy it, of course.
You are a normal human being.
We had a good laugh. We messed around a lot.
Yeah.
Sometimes we went to lessons. That was it. If I applied myself, I probably could have done something with the school, but we were there for a good time.
Okay. How long did that last? The whole school thing, like, did you finish uni? What did you do?
So in the UK at that time, you had to go to school to 16.
Okay.
After 16, you're free to do what you want. So when I was 16, I was in sixth form. It's the equivalent to college. Okay. And I got kicked out.
Oh, why?
Again, just messing around. So I got kicked out of sixth form. And once you get kicked out of sixth form, you don't really have any more paths left. It's difficult to now go and apply to college and say, I just got kicked out of sixth form, could you take me on? So as soon as I got kicked out, it was full-time work.
Okay, interesting. Did you, at that point, decide to go into entrepreneurship or did you get a job?
Initially, I got a job.
Okay.
Used to work in Subway. I think you've got a few Subways over here. I saw one when we was driving down the Nashville.
Yeah.
So I used to work at Subway. At the time, I never used to live at home. So I was 16, I didn't live at home. Or 17, around that time.
You didn't live at home?
I didn't live at home.
Moved out?
Yes.
Interesting.
The problem then was, when you're getting paid £3.50, £4 an hour, you don't have enough money to cover your rent. So you had to start doing something and thinking outside of the box.
Yeah.
So there was two things I was really interested in. Number one was flipping phones.
Yeah.
And back then it was Blackberries. So you'd go onto a Facebook group, on an items for sale group.
Yeah.
And you're constantly refreshing who's selling a Blackberry, who's selling a Blackberry. The other thing I really enjoyed was drop shipping. And drop shipping now, I don't really believe it exists like it used to.
Yeah.
And back then we didn't really know it was drop shipping. And now everybody online's talking about getting to drop shipping.
That's saturated.
100%. So I think drop shipping started 15, 16 years ago.
For sure.
I found a company in China and they'd have a range of products. You know, we're talking sunglasses, clocks, anything and everything they'd have. It was like a pound shop for China. And I would go onto eBay, create a listing based on one of their products. And you'd put this listing up and you think, I've made it. And then you'd come back the next day and you haven't sold anything.
Yeah.
And I kept doing this until I found a product that worked. And it was a brand of sunglasses. And I listed this product, and I think I listed that I had 3 in stock.
Mm.
And remember, at the time, I've got no money.
Yeah.
Every month we're trying to make rent, and I've got no money. And I came downstairs in this house share that I was renting. And about 2 or 3 hours later, I came upstairs, and we sold the whole lot of those sunglasses.
Wow.
So I made 50, 60, 70 pounds profit.
Did you have to... So, because the way I understand drop shipping is that you just sell it and the seller ships it.
That's right.
Is that what was happening?
That's
so you
right.
didn't have to touch it?
No.
Interesting.
So you'd sell your products, you'd send the whole list back to China with the addresses and the names, and they'd take care of fulfillment. Amazing. And it was worldwide as well. So sold all of these products, made 50, 60, 70 pounds, which was probably a double shift at Subway. And
tasted freedom.
Definitely.
Yeah.
There was no more stress.
Long back.
Went back upstairs, relisted again, and this time I put 5 in stock. Came back 2-3 hours later and sold the whole lot again. And by that time I thought, I'm onto something.
Yeah.
Now for the next, this only lasted for around a week, by the way.
Okay.
So list these products, we'd sell. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. to a PayPal full of money. And I started making just over £500 a day.
Wow.
At 17. And by that time, all I'm seeing is freedom. I can go buy a moped. My bills are taken care of now. We don't have to worry about the rent every month. Until a week later, I had an email from eBay saying you're banned.
Ooh, why?
The products, they were replica products.
These were like name brands.
Exactly. And at 17, you're not really thinking about this.
Yeah.
So you're just listing and just selling whatever anyone is buying. Sometime after I appealed their decision, I came back onto the account and I started selling again. By that time, I'm speaking to friends in school saying, like, guys, I've found something, but I need more accounts. Do you want to sell for me? And I'll give you commission per item.
Why did you need more accounts?
You were restricted to the amount of things you could list and sell because it was a newer account.
Okay.
You could only sell a set amount of items a day. So set up 2 of my friends for their accounts. You know, I'd go to their house, set them all up, let them know what to do, how to sell, how to list the products. And by that time, even though I kept getting banned, their accounts are still running.
It kept happening.
It kept happening because once eBay or PayPal have noticed something they don't like, they'll keep checking on your accounts. But it was okay because I've got a couple of friends who were selling on my behalf.
I didn't know about.
Of course. And they were taking their commission and they were making money as well. And I was making money as well. Until eventually everybody was shut down. The whole address I was in, the IP address was blacklisted. Nobody in that house
could set up accounts.
Could set up an account ever again. You know, even 10 years later, even 10 years later, nobody can set up an account again. And then it was back to the drawing board. What do we do next? And by this time, I've realized there's such a margin in selling these replica products, and they were easy to sell. So back to research. And at the time, you wouldn't know this because you're not from the UK, but this new brand of watch came out. It was called Ice.
Yeah, I don't know this one.
I think they were around 70, 80 pounds a watch. So it wasn't anything crazy. But because they were cheap watches, they were easy to replicate. And the watches China made to replicate were identical.
Boss.
So I bought these watches from China. They were £4.50 each. And the
wholesale.
Yes.
Okay.
And that was shipped. And every time I'd pick up the delivery from the post office, I'd have to get on the bike with no brakes, cycle all the way down to the post office to pick up my shipment of watches. And as soon as you listed these on these Facebook groups, all will be sold. Within 24 hours, people knocking on the door saying, hi, I'll take 1, hi, I'll take 2.
How much were you reselling these?
I was selling these for £25. So this was £20 of profit,
pure profit
per watch.
How were you fulfilling though? How were you handling the fulfillment? Were you delivering? They picking it up?
Most people would pick up, but if they were close by, I'd get on this bike and
You take it to them.
cycle away.
Wow, this is 17, 18 years old, I'm assuming.
Yes. What was really interesting was there was a brother I used to chill with at the time, and I won't mention names, and he used to sell weed. That was his thing. And I was selling watches. And we'd be out chilling in the evenings.
Yeah.
And he'd say, Danny, I need to go here and I need to go here. And I said, that's fine, but we need to go post office on the way here. And I need to drop off this watch on the way here.
Amazing.
And
you were both hustling on the streets.
We were both trying. And
who was making more money?
Him, of course. I'd watch him, and I never got into it. I never wanted to get into it. But I'd watch him, and at the time when you have no money and you're trying to pay your rent and your bills, and you're with this brother, and it's just constant customer after customer after customer, and it's tempting.
Yeah,
it's tempting.
Well, you fought the temptation.
Yes. And I met up with this brother recently. So I hadn't seen him for about 10 years.
Wow.
And I met up with him about 6 months ago. And he's killing it. He set up a perfume business. He's got, I think, 4 branches now.
Inshallah.
And the person, we knew when we were 17, 18.
It's no longer that person.
But that entrepreneurial side
is there.
Followed.
I was about to ask that. I was like, because now I'm seeing that obviously in you and now him, as you mentioned, that has translated over time
100%.
into you guys both being entrepreneurs and eventually, alhamdulillah, building something
definitely
amazing. Allahumma barak. Wow, amazing. So eBay, watches, and I understand that you had this passion for phones, and eventually you turned that into your full-time business. How did that transition happen?
I think the love for that business started from flipping Blackberries. I remember, so on a flip, you try to double your money.
Yeah.
Or if you couldn't double, you try to make 20 to 50 pounds every time. And I remember it was this Samsung or something similar, and I managed to get it so cheap. And I listed it for a profit of £70, and somebody straight away said they'll take it. And that feeling was different. Now I've made a day's wage in an hour.
Wow.
From collecting a phone, listing it, and dropping it off. Fast forward a few months, society tells you need to get an education.
Yeah.
So I was thinking to myself, ultimately, I've got no education, no grades. I had English, maths, and science as a C grade. This is your minimum.
Well, if you don't mind, when you say education, you mean actually going to the formal schooling and all this stuff?
Right. You need formal qualifications.
Right.
You've been taught this from primary school.
Since you could speak.
Of course.
Yeah.
So there was this IT academy in my town that were taking on students, and it was all government funded. And the plan was to go there, spend around 6 months to a year in education, and do something with IT, whether it's IT support or something similar. So applied for this IT apprenticeship, and within the first few days, they gave us some bad news. And they said the government funding that was in place has now been stopped.
Oof.
And you need to find a placement to take you on that's going to fund the qualifications.
Wow.
At the time, everybody's struggling because we're all young.
Yeah.
We can barely ask for a job, let alone ask for
someone to sponsor you.
Of course.
Yeah.
There was another Facebook group I came across, and it was a business networking group. And something told me to put a post in there and see if anybody there was looking for somebody that they could take on to fund. So I put a post in there, and there was a local company who fixed iPhones. And this is when iPhones were brand new. We're still on the iPhone 2G and 3G.
Oh.
And they asked me in for an interview. So I went to the interview, and they asked me 2 questions. Number 1, they said, "What phone do you have?" And I had a BlackBerry. I couldn't afford an iPhone. And they weren't too impressed with that. They wanted people who loved iPhones to apply for these jobs. Number 2, they said to me, have you got any experience of fixing anything? And I said, yeah, of course. I had this little remote control helicopter. It was about £25 and I'd crashed it once in the house and I was trying to fix it. So I told them I'm working on this helicopter and they were really excited. And they said, how did the repair go? And I said, I couldn't remember how to put it back together again.
You were brutally honest.
But both of the guys left the room. They came back in a few minutes later and they offered me the job.
Allahumma barak.
That's where...
But you didn't meet any of the qualifications. How did you get that job? You didn't have an iPhone. You had no experience really. I mean, you tried, but you had no success. What made you think you got that job?
They told me straight away.
Yeah.
They said, Danny, we like you. The job is yours. At the time, so they offered me a placement and my salary was £100 a week. And
was that good? Or?
This is an apprenticeship wage.
Okay.
So it was £2.60 something an hour.
Okay. I mean, they're training you at the same time.
Of course. The problem for me now was I've gone from £3.60 back down to £2.60. And I've still got rent to pay. And bills and all of these things.
After you've also tasted what it was like to make £500 a day.
Of course.
That's brutal.
Took on this job and they start teaching you the normal how to fix an iPhone, and that's a screen and that's a battery and you have to undo these amounts of screws to get to this component. After a few months, about 3 or 4 months, they started offering me overtime. And it was a slightly more technical aspect of the job.
If you're serious about making hijrah and gaining financial freedom, stop waiting and start building. Coding for Hijrah gives you the tech skills to land a remote tech job or launch your own business, all for the price of a daily latte. Learn full stack development, AI, no code, and UI UX design fundamentals with a Muslim community that shares your vision. The first 100 students get in for a very, very special offer. Trust me, don't miss this. Click the link in the description and start your journey coding now. Now back to the podcast.
So the overtime, so we'd finish work at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, and the overtime was up until 8 or 9 o'clock. So I took as much overtime as I could.
Were they paying you more for that, or it was just the same pay?
That was more. So every successful repair during your overtime period, they'd pay you £5 to £10.
Amazing.
It took a while, and you might complete 2 repairs if you had a good day.
Right.
But ultimately, you might fail and make nothing in that overtime. So sometimes I'd work this overtime till 8 o'clock, and you'd leave with an extra £5. And at 18, all your friends are out, they're all chilling, and you're in this tiny little office because you need the money.
Right.
And it was disheartening. After spending 2-3 hours, and you were unsuccessful. And where you should have made £30, you've been paid £5 or £6 or £7. After I was at that company for about 1.5 years, and at 19, they found out that I wanted to set up my own business and try and do this myself. So I was called into a room, told to leave straight away. You know, this is your last hour here, just grab your stuff and go. And by that time now, I'm left with nothing again. There was a small office on that same street, literally 2 or 3 minutes down the road. By this time, I'd saved around £800. And I went to this office block and I asked them how much it is to rent an office. And I think the office was around £250, £230 a month. But they needed a deposit, and the deposit was 1 month's office rent.
Wow.
So I've taken the leap, paid £400 or £500 for this office space, not knowing what I'm doing.
At 19?
At 19. The next thing was that I needed tools and equipment, and I think I spent £50 to £100 on basic tools just to get something started. ultimately, I set that business up with about £600 or £700.
Oh.
Really excited. Went to the office the first day on the grand opening. Sat down in the office and nothing happened.
If you build a little house.
Went home after a 9 to 5. Went back home. And I
No
thought,
clients.
no clients, nothing. Went back the next day. Nothing happened.
I have to laugh because it's.
I kept turning up. Now, by the end of month 1, I was balancing my books, very basic spreadsheet, and I made, I think it was around £100.
You got some customers.
£100. I think I made about £100.
How much was you charging per client? You will say
it averaged. It varied.
Because I'm trying to figure out how many clients you actually had in the first month.
Okay. At a best guess, maybe 5 to 10.
Not about it.
5 to 10.
Amazing.
And I made £100.
Okay.
And I'm looking at this whole month's worth of work, and I'm seeing that £100, and I'm just thinking, what am I doing? This is not for me.
Yeah.
But something kept me going. And then next month, I made around £250, £300.
How did you pay rent the first month?
I still had that small amount of savings, remember?
Right, but that was like 100 left because you had 800, spent 700. About
My rent was really cheap.
You said 200 and change.
The office rent or the home rent?
No, the office rent.
The office rent. So I still had a bit of savings. So, you've made £100 and you've still got a bit of money left over. And the people in the building were really chilled and laid back.
Okay.
So every month we just made the rent.
Mashallah.
We just made the rent.
Okay.
So that £100 was the profit after.
That was the profit.
That was the profit.
Alhamdulillah. Okay.
So that was the profit for me.
I just got more excited. I'm like, okay. So you were profitable for the business.
You could say that.
Alhamdulillah.
You could say that.
Okay.
Of course, if you take out my time, the hours of work, but
you're an entrepreneur.
I was still in the green.
Yeah.
So second month came, and I think I doubled that or slightly over doubled it. So I made around £250 of profit. By the end of year 1, I was making around £700 to £800 a month. So this was a good position because
this is profit.
Yeah, and this position is okay now because I've never felt to spend much.
Yeah,
and it was always this mode of survival. You have your bills to pay, and that needs to be paid for, and that needs to be paid for. You didn't treat yourself. There was no takeaways. You didn't go out to restaurants.
Right.
Didn't go out with your friends. And actually, even if you did go out with your friends, you didn't have to spend any money.
19, 20. Okay. I want to continue this story, but let's go back. Sorry, forgive me, because... And we're going to talk about Nashville chicken. We will, I promise. So I know folks in the rooms like, when's the chicken coming? The chicken's going to come. But hold on. You moved out of your parents' house, right?
That's right.
Were you kicked out? Or did you move out on your own?
Okay, Safian, I'll answer, but we might have to
bleep
cut this out. Okay, we might have to. At 15, 16, I was getting kicked out.
Okay, because you didn't want to go to school.
That was one of the reasons.
Okay,
that was one of the reasons.
Okay,
rebellious 15-year-old.
Got you. And no, there's a lesson in this though.
Of course,
that's why I want to talk about it, because remember, we want like everything. If we just stopped right now, this is a masterclass for the youth, for anyone who wants to learn what it is to be resilient, what it is to be entrepreneurial, what it is to build a startup. Bro, this is a masterclass, wallahi, so far. I'm telling you, if we stopped here, but at the same time, I want people to take inspiration from this, especially from the youth. Whether you were kicked out, that's not the point, right? It's not whether you kicked out, whether you decided to move out. The point is, you were no longer under your parents' roof. I say roof. So that means that you have to fend for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You have to figure everything out on your own. Most people, this will be the beginning of the end.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Especially at that age, like you're the most vulnerable you can be in your life at that age. How? What was your mindset? Like, I really, like, this is what I want. Like, what was the mindset that told you, I have to, first of all, I have to be a doer. I have to do because, to take care of what I need. Because at that age, people playing video games, even at this time, people at the park just playing games. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Don't ask me what I was doing because you don't want to know. But what was going through your mind that said, no, I have to grind. I have to be focused. I have to do what I got to do. I got to spend less money eating at McDonald's or wherever because, that's a fine dining at that age, right? So what was it going through your mind at that point?
Just survival. Just survival.
Could you not just go back to your parents' house?
No.
Okay.
No. So at the time, so 16 is really when, now I'm out 16 and a half. And every time you kicked out, the only focus then was, where am I sleeping tonight? That was it. So you didn't care about, going out with your friends or going to McDonald's and these sorts of things. And what was funny was, there were times I'd be chilling with my friends. We'd all be chilling in the park.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, okay, it's 10, 11 o'clock. We're going back home now. And I would have to pretend that I'm going back home as well.
They didn't know.
They didn't know. So sometimes, if they offered to walk my way, sometimes I would just walk the same way as if I'm going back home as well. And then as soon as they've taken a turn and gone back home, I've gone the other way and looking for somewhere to stay the night.
Where did you stay?
It was a mixture. Some nights on the street. Some nights, there was an old house that was empty and the front window wouldn't lock. So sometimes you'd go through the window and sleep there. But this period didn't last long.
If it lasted a day, it lasted long.
Mm-hmm. It didn't last long.
How long were we talking?
I'd say sleeping rough or squatting, 10, 15 nights. And it wasn't
15-year-old.
Yeah, and it wasn't continuous, right?
Okay.
One of my friends knew my situation, and he would let me stay in the house without his parents knowing. So I'd have to hide, come to the house at like midnight when everyone's asleep, leave at 5, 6 a.m. So it wasn't continuous. It was just a few nights. But I wouldn't take it back.
Wow.
I think that experience, I think that would drive someone forever.
So, and then you were able to find a place where you can pay rent?
That's right.
Like a shared home and stuff?
Yeah, so eventually my friend's mom found out.
Mm.
And
that's the same friend?
Yes.
Okay.
Eventually they found out. Oh, no. And they just said, look, you can stay, but you need to contribute something. But even then, because you've been through this, this doesn't feel secure.
Mm.
And at the same time, you still can't miss rent because you don't know what's going to happen. But what was really funny was, just before the end of every month, when you try and make your rent money, usually what I would try to do is sell something that I owned previously.
Yeah.
Just to try and make that.
To make sure you are on the safe side.
Of course. And just to pay the rent.
Yeah.
But every month, without fail, something would happen. Last minute, something would happen. There'd be one day left to pay rent.
Mm.
Something would happen. I've just sold this or I've just done this. And all of a sudden, there's 100 or 200 or 250 pounds on the side that I've just made, just in time to pay the rent. And this was every month.
Uh-huh.
There was never a month I missed. Every month something happened.
First and foremost, I want to clarify something here. I laughed earlier a few times, okay? And, as an entrepreneur, someone who's like, I'm laughing because I know like what it's like. It's not like the laughter's like, oh, it's funny. It's like, oh, like that's brutal to be in that position. You open a business, nothing happens, like you come and go, like been there, done that. And I know how it is. And I wish every single person who wants to start a business will understand this, be armed with this, coming in with the mindset that, look, I may not make sales for 30 days, but I will show up every single day. You know what I mean? So, like, just because, not for you, but like people watching, I want them to understand, it's like, you know, I'm not laughing at the situation. It's knowing what I know. And you now also, I'm sure you could also laugh at that because now you know what you know.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? And I wish people will know that. But this leads me to ask, okay, so obviously, like you said, you will not take this back. And why would you, right? Like, that was like the boot camp of life. That was a training ground that I'm sure Bila Shak has the greatest impact on your entrepreneurial life, on your life as a man, right? Having to do what you got to do. But I do have a question. At this point, at this age, because I want to know, how come every single month you were able to get your rent even last minute? How? Because the automatic answer, I will think, for that to happen is if a person is on top of their religion. So that you know where I'm going with this. If a person is on top of it and Allah Azza wa Jal, like, you know, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. Whoever fears Allah, He will provide for them from where it means they couldn't imagine. Right? Were you on top of your prayers at that time?
No.
So who was it?
At the time, I knew nothing about Islam.
SubhanAllah.
We went to the mosque up until 13.
Okay.
And we learned to read Arabic with no understanding. So really, Islam, we knew nothing about it. And especially when you're away from home, this is the last thing on your mind. At that sort of age, this is the last thing on your mind. But now when I look back, now it's clear where it used to come from.
Why? What do you think was like the suburb? Obviously, we know the risk is from Allah Azza wa Jal. Whether we're worshipping, whether we obeying Him or not, He provides for everyone, right? But what do you think was the reason for you at that time? In this moment of challenge and struggle and hardship and fearing not being able to, you know, pay rent and have to end up on the street again. How come every single month? What do you believe was the factor that was, you know, giving you that every single day at the end of the month, if that makes sense?
Allah knows best.
I don't know. It was just, we can just say it was Allah Azza wa Jal just taking care of you at that time.
I can't describe enough how, you know, like clockwork, every single month, something would happen. I can't describe enough. Allah knows best.
Yeah, that's interesting, subhanAllah. Because I mean, I know, you know, like and some of the reasons why I was laughing, really, subhanAllah, I had a business, akhi. You know, there was days I didn't make no sales. But, you know, alhamdulillah, at the time, I was practicing, alhamdulillah, and I was so into my practice of Islam, and my tawakkul, like, was so, like, high. Like, I didn't care if somebody came through the door or not, type of thing, you know? In fact, when people came through the door, I felt like they were disturbing me. I was reading my books. You know, I was reading Riyadh al-Salihin, you know, the seed of the Prophet ﷺ. So I didn't want to be bothered, right? But I also knew I had yaqeen, because I'm taking that step. I'm coming every morning. I'm opening my store. I'm cleaning. I'm doing what I got to do. But I also want to read my books. But I knew at the end of the day, every month, like you, subhanAllah, every month, wallahi, sometimes, like, I didn't know where the rent is going to come from. I just know I'm not making no sales.
Okay.
And then the last minute, sometimes when I'm about to close the store, somebody comes and say, please, you know, I just need one thing. I want to go home. You know, I made no sales all day anyway. I'm tired. Let me go home and have, you know, a nice meal. But also at that time I'm practicing. So obviously my manners, alhamdulillah, were better. So this person comes, they want to need something. I'm going to open up, you know, and be kind to them. That person end up spending like $1,500, $2,000 in that moment when I needed the most. You know what I mean? So I can relate so much, subhanAllah. I can relate so much.
Look at the similarity.
Yeah. Well. And this is part of the reason, like, as I hear it, I'm like, this is true. This is, you know, entrepreneurs are different. You know what I mean? And to me, like, what I'm hearing is like, you from that young age, first of all, before you left your parents' house, you became an entrepreneur, walillah alhamd. And then when you were out and you were struggling with this situation, you tapped into the entrepreneurial mindset that you had, and you saw it through. But what this time period did is shaped your character. I mean, the conversations that we had yesterday, now a lot of things making sense now, right? You were saving. You were staying up late. You were waking up early. Because even to get out of your friend's house at 5 a.m, not to get caught, bro, that's fun time, right? Most of us cannot wake up at that time, but that's what shapes you as a person. So now you have your phone store. Year goes by, you're making about $800 a month on average. At what point did you realize and believe that this right here is going to make me, like, I'm going to continue doing this?
I got to a stage where I started making around £3,000 a month.
Allahu Mubarak.
And now, I'm making a full adult's wage.
Yeah.
As a 22, 23-year-old, that sort of age.
Mubarak.
And I still wasn't spending anything, but I was comfortable. And there was no more stress. You can go out if you want, and you can buy this if you want, and your bills are paid. I remember around that time, one of the partners that were working at the old company that I used to work at, he offered me a job, and I think he had offered me maybe $3,500-4,000 a month. And he offered to drop me off to work every day, feed me lunch every day, and he had all these additional benefits. And I was sat on that for ages, for months. I was contemplating whether to take his job offer. Because even though you're making £3,000 a month, you know what it's like every month. You go back to zero. Is this going to happen again or not?
Yeah.
And this was stability. And for around 6 months, he was asking me, Danny, come work for me. I'm going to give you this. I'm going to give you this. And I couldn't work out whether to go with him or carry on doing what I'm doing. I went to his office for a trial for a couple of days. And I remember when I went, I had no service in his offices. So I had customers that would have been trying to call me and I couldn't.
They couldn't reach you.
They couldn't reach me. I finally asked my mum. And I said, Mum, what should I do? Should I take this job or should I stay doing my own thing? And with my mum, it's very much, look, you've got your own business. This is better for you. So it's my mum's decision that kept me doing what I was doing.
A wisdom and guidance.
Yes, definitely.
At that point, were you back at your parents' house or were you still on your own?
So by this time, my mum's moved back to Birmingham. All my brothers have moved back to Birmingham. And I'm still in Banbury.
Okay. And you have your own place now, I'm assuming, at that point?
So at around that age, 23, 24, found this nice flat, gave them a deposit, and I moved into this flat. And finally, after years, from like 16 to 23, 24, finally had the keys. You got privacy, your own space. You don't have to answer to anyone.
Running your own business successfully before Allah. Allahumma barak. And you're saving. You're saving. You're not spending.
All the time. Not spending at all.
Allahumma barak. Did you have a mentor at any point that told you to save, to do this or that? Or
No. The saving came from, you see, every time you don't have anywhere to sleep, that money was a roof over your head. So that was security. So whether it's 10, 20 pounds, but now you might have 2, 3, 4, 5,000 pounds, I still saw it as security. So I never used to spend it.
Just in case.
Just in case.
Oof. You will be my mother's ideal son because, like save. Like, we hear this and subhanAllah, I think some of us that have been extremely privileged and never been tested in this way, even as adults, parents, we don't see the value of saving.
Mm-hmm.
We don't understand, because you have understood. I mean, you paid the price. You paid literally the ultimate price. You paid the ultimate tuition to understand and gain this knowledge. This is now knowledge. It's not information, because you work and live by it.
Mm-hmm.
But some of us, including yours truly here, we haven't understood really the importance of saving.
Mm-hmm.
And recently I've heard, I think from Warren Buffett or someone like this, one of these guys, that's generational wealth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the tricks, one of the lessons that he teach is save your money, just spent. Save. But it's hard to do.
It's hard to do. Plus, I also think that there's a time in life where you save,
Mm-hmm.
especially since coming over here and the circles that I'm seeing. Nobody's saving anymore.
I don't know.
Money comes in and it needs to go back out. You know, we need to invest in this project or we need to invest in this business. So I'm seeing now actually the opposite. The guys that have really made it, they're not saving.
They investing. But
Investing.
there's a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's saving,
Mm-hmm.
spending,
Mm-hmm.
and investing. Okay, but on that point though, you were saving.
Mm-hmm.
So you were not necessarily, you think you were not investing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you were investing. Right? You were investing
Okay.
because you invested in your business.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, the phone store, you would not have been able to spend the money to open it had you not saved that money.
Of course.
And the money you spent on it, and you kept spending every month
Mm-hmm.
until you grew it to what it became,
Mm-hmm.
that was investment over time.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yes.
you see what I'm saying? So sometimes though, but even these huge companies that have billions of dollars and trillions of dollars, you know, they always keep a cash reserve.
Definitely.
They have to.
Mm-hmm.
Because just in case something happens, now they got to tap into that, even though they're investing continuously, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I know there's many years in between, but let's fast forward to now. Okay. The lessons you've learned over time, the experiences you got, the knowledge you've gained, how would you say that shaped your current life today? You know what I mean? Like,
look, now I'm my brothers are my partners, okay?
Allahu Barak.
Now we see opportunities where previously we probably wouldn't have seen them.
Mm.
And I truly believe you have to practice making money.
For sure.
So I believe fixing phones was my practice.
Mm.
And I started doing well from it as well. But that was practice. Because one thing that took away from me was time.
Mm.
You can make all the money in the world, but if you don't have time, then what's the point?
Right.
So from then on, I said, anything I start now, I need time.
Mm.
I can't put myself into a full-time job ever again.
So you don't want to work in
Never.
a business.
Mm-hmm.
You want to work on the business, as they say.
Definitely.
Okay. But again, as we know, I think everybody goes through a period of time where they have no choice but to work in, right? Whether it's their own business, whether it's employment, whether it's just gaining experience and training. Like, you have that phase, right? For most people, I mean, right? So, and for you to realize this, obviously, you had to go through that, believe me, I'm sure, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's fast forward, right? How this phone business, is it still going, or did you eventually transition to what you're doing now?
It's still going at the moment. I'm still there.
Same spot?
I'm still there.
Allah.
We've obviously upgraded the office.
MashaAllah, tabarakallah.
I'm still there.
You got employees now?
No. So this is one of the challenges of this business, that it's too highly skilled, which means it's hard to employ somebody and it's really difficult to scale.
Because they got to train and they got to gain the skills.
Definitely. So any business now, I need to be time free and it needs to be scalable.
It needs to be automated.
Yes.
Right. By having other people do the work.
Mm-hmm.
Allah Barak.
So that's what brought us onto the restaurant.
MashaAllah.
So in our town, there's nowhere really to eat. And for me and my brother, we had this idea, and we predicted that fried chicken is the future. We went through this phase of fried chicken, then it went to grilled chicken, and then we had this idea that fried chicken is going to make a comeback. And for around 3, 4, 5 years, we were looking for premises to open this restaurant in, and nothing came about. By the time we finally found something, these fried chicken shops are everywhere. We've got Wendy's in the UK now. We've got Popeyes in the UK. But by the time we finally found some premises, these people have already moved in. But we're still on the growth curve for this niche. Yeah. Although it would have been better if we started.
You were like the first movers.
But yeah, I'd say the curve is halfway up. So we've still got time. So we spent just £60,000. Rented this tiny little shop, tiny little street. Everyone advised us not to open on this street because it's too small. There's not much foot traffic. There's no car traffic either. Bought all our equipment, the cheapest of the cheap stuff we could buy. And I don't know if you know much about catering, but proper equipment costs money, and you need good equipment. So instead of spending 10 grand on a grill, we were spending £400, £500, £600.
Whoa.
And there's a reason why these things are so cheap. They don't last and they don't work properly. So we set up this business. In total, 60,000. The problem we were having was, although we were really, really busy, platforms like Just Eat and Uber were taking all our profit.
How much?
They take 30%.
Wow.
So they were taking all our profit. Every time we go into our kitchen, it was busy and everybody was happy with the food. Wow. But then you check the account at the end of the month and you've been losing £200 to £300 a day in the red.
Oh.
And this happened for around 6 months until we had an issue with the bank account. Some payments didn't go out to the platforms or some commissions couldn't be taken. And our accounts got temporarily paused
by the
platforms.
Okay.
Once they got paused, we thought, okay, now we have real trouble, because if we couldn't make it when we had busy kitchens, how are we going to make this by ourselves?
Yeah.
I don't know what the platforms. I don't know how important the platforms are here, but in the UK, important. So it's the same for us. If you're not on the platforms, you haven't got a restaurant.
Yeah.
And every restaurant and takeaway in our town naturally is on the platform.
Right.
And now we've been left behind. We've got nothing.
Assalamu alaikum, guys. If you're looking to get into tech, real estate, entrepreneurship, or simply make hijrah, let's connect. Click the link below to speak with me, and I'll help you scale exponentially and fast track that process for you. And now let's get back to the podcast.
A few days later, there aren't really any customers. We're not doing anything now. We're at a standstill.
People were not coming in person.
They were coming, but not enough.
Okay.
You have the rent to pay, the taxes, the food costs, the labor. So nowhere near enough people. And remember, we were already losing £200 to £300
a day
whilst we were quite busy.
Yeah.
And now we've got nothing at all. So after a while, we tried to get back on the platforms in time, and we were struggling to make headway. So we said, okay, we just need our own website and we need to sell through our own platform. And again, this is unheard of. You don't do this. You feed off the major platforms and you try and get a small percentage to your platform, not the other way around. My background now, so for the past 10 years, I don't believe I've been fixing phones. I believe I've been marketing a business.
Sales and marketing.
So that's where my key is. So I got to work marketing the business away from the platforms. And at the same time, we found a provider for a till and a website. And I remember he quoted £600. And we were thinking, we haven't really got £600. Is this the right decision for us?
£600?
£600.
To provide you the
website.
That you need for orders?
Yes. But the issue was, because we've been losing all that money every month or every day, And now somebody says, give me another £600.
It's a lot.
Of course it is.
Even though £600, by the way, is nothing.
It's
for
nothing.
That. Yeah.
But we're in a massive hole already.
Right.
So he's given us another shovel and said, dig yourself even
Deeper,
further down.
Yeah.
I tried to negotiate, but they weren't having it.
Can negotiate £600 per platform, but yeah.
The thing was, we'd put this money aside for the restaurant, and we didn't want to put more money in because I didn't want to fall into this trap of you keep feeding this bank account, keep feeding this bank account. We signed up with these guys really quick. Within a week, we had our website, and we started marketing. Fast forward 2 years. Doing everything ourselves.
Not back on the platforms.
Not back on the platforms. So 2 years later now, we've got just over 5,000 customers.
Through your own platform.
You know, so I've got all their phone numbers. I've got their email addresses. I know when they order, what they order. We never went back on the platforms.
On the platforms, did you have their phone numbers?
No, they don't give it to you.
No emails, no phone numbers. So no data for you. The data belongs to the platform. And now it belongs to you.
Now it belongs to me.
I didn't understand this yesterday, by the way. Now I understand.
Okay.
Wow.
And I think two things had happened. I think number one, our food is exceptional. And I can't take credit for this. Two of my brothers are behind the menu, so I can't take credit. So the food is exceptional. Yeah. And word of mouth in this business is huge.
Sure.
I've seen somebody come in and come back a week later and bring 7, 8, 9 people.
Allahu Akbar.
This is
because of the quality of the food.
Yeah.
Inshallah.
So this was number one, right? 10 customers turns into 30 or 40 customers really quickly, as long as you're consistent.
Right.
And number two, I think there was a bit of a novelty factor with us not being on the platforms.
So that actually played in your favor.
I think so. Imagine you
like
tell
you're exclusive.
Say that again?
I said you're like exclusive. Yeah. Like if you want our food, you must come to us.
Of course.
I think, you know what this reminds me of? It's like Nike, I think, now being on Amazon. You know, like you cannot get Nike, like they went off of Amazon. Interesting.
So imagine saying to your friend, I found this really good new food spot. And they said, okay, no problem. I'm going to search them up on Uber. And you're like, no, hold on. No.
Can't.
They don't have Uber.
Wow.
So there was a bit of a novelty factor in this as well. Every month, and we're supposed to be in a recession. But there's no recession in the food game.
People got to eat.
Of course. And I think they turn away from their normal luxuries. And this turns into their weekly treat.
Right.
So there's no recession in the food business. So every month we've just been growing and growing and growing.
Long.
Last couple of weeks ago, we were comparing our figures to a national franchise based in our town, and we beat their figures. After their commissions to the platforms, we beat their figures, and we're just on our own website.
And you still have the small location that you had?
We still got the small location. So one of my brother's vision was always franchising. And my brother's he can envision the future. He knows what he wants. Of course, he knows what he wants, and he knows how to get it. So we spoke, and we agreed that we need a proper store, a flagship store that looks really nice, because we didn't spend much on this place.
Right.
And once we have our new store, we can start approaching people for franchising. That was the end goal.
How long has that been the goal? When did you realize, or when did you, your brother, your partner, when did you guys realize that has to be the way forward?
For me, I just wanted to get my money back from the restaurant.
So you're the investor. Okay.
My brother's operations. So anything operationally, that's all my brother's doing.
Yeah.
I think for my brother, he's always had this plan of 50, 100 franchises. So I remember one time we were talking, and I think I said to him, I'd be so happy with 10 franchises. And my brother said, no, we need like 50, 60, 70.
At least.
And in the back of my mind, I'm still like, no, but 10. If we get to 10, like, we're in a good position.
We're good. Yeah. Long money.
So we found this store on our high street. It was an old bank that closed down.
If the bank chose it, that means it was a good location.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So we took the lease on for this place.
Yes.
Initially, the budget for the restaurant was about £100,000. That's what I wanted to spend. And there
That's the original restaurant or the
new one?
The new one. Okay.
So that was the original budget. This bank, the rent's expensive. It's a huge building on a high street. So the space upstairs for flats.
Mm-hmm.
So it was 100,000 for the restaurant and maybe around 50,000 for the flats. That was the aim.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever been you're into building projects.
Yeah.
What happens when you estimate or forecast?
It's never correct.
Of course.
It's always more. Always.
After the works has started, we said, okay, we'll spend 250,000 here on the restaurant and the flats upstairs, and we're fine. We then had delays from the council. Really stupid delays. Now our new budget is 500,000. That's the total cost. But that's not just the restaurant. That's our first location to test everything. That's the R&D. That's all the mistakes we've made. You know, wrong equipment and cheap equipment and fryers that maybe weren't fit for purpose for what we wanted to do. This cost also includes the fit out of our new restaurant, 4 flats upstairs, and our franchise model.
That 500 is for all of this at the new location.
Everything.
Or that inclusive in the first one, what you spent on the first one?
Yeah. This business in total.
So your total business investment in total has become 500K.
500K.
And how long again? 2 years?
Yeah, we'd been doing it for around 2 years.
2 years. Okay. And now, so again, now my real estate instincts are kicking in. So the flats, those are going to be rented out.
Yes.
Okay, Allahumma barak. So you're no longer just in the restaurant business. Now you're in the real estate business as well.
It looks like it.
Allahumma barak. You know what that reminds me of?
What does it remind you of?
McDonald's.
Definitely.
You know, they're not in the restaurant business. No. Is that something that you guys are thinking?
The McDonald's model is brilliant.
Yeah.
It's not what we're thinking at the moment.
Yeah.
Because McDonald's are buying these plots, aren't they? And it's really hard to buy without interest.
Yes, true. It's possible.
It's possible, definitely. Yeah. Maybe in the future. Let's see.
Something to think about. That's very interesting. Wow. Okay. So now, alhamdulillah, you guys, that's amazing, by the way. I really think people who see this, who have restaurants, might consider building their own platforms and do direct bookings. And
listen, a message to all restaurateurs: come off the platforms. You don't need them.
MashaAllah, tabarakallah. You know, we do short-term rentals as well. And one of the goals is to build our own platform.
Okay.
To not depend on the likes of Airbnb and booking and all that stuff, because the fees, right? Fees are high. And when fees are high, it's either you're not making money or you got to raise the prices on the customer, and then, that messes up the business. So this is a lesson for me. I'm going to take that and apply to my own business. That's not even restaurant related. It's real estate related, but I'm going to take that and apply. So what's the name of the business again? Because I don't think we mentioned the name.
OGS.
OGS. What does it stand for?
Long story. So initially, we were going to set up this restaurant. It's going to be called Harry's, after one of my brothers.
Okay.
It was going to be called Harry's.
Yes.
Bright pink branding. That's
why pink? Attention.
Yeah, okay. and it's a bold move. Nobody's really there's one company in the UK that's come with this sort of theme, but I don't think anybody else would take the leap. And it stands out. You drive down your high street, see this massive
becomes a landmark.
Location, of course.
Yeah.
So it's going to be Harry's. We had all the signs put up, and a few months later, somebody approached us, and this person has been in the food game for a long time, and he pitched an idea to us for this concept of a takeaway, and the takeaway initially it holds 2 brands. So you've got OGS and OGK. One side is burgers and one side is kebabs. So you have to remember we're inexperienced with food. We haven't opened our doors yet.
Yeah.
So when this person that's been doing this for 20, 30 years says, you're doing it wrong, you need to do it like this, we've just said, okay, fine. We'll do it your way.
And he was just coming in as an advisor.
He was coming as an advisor for this store,
Okay.
but he wanted to open up another branch in Birmingham. So we were really excited. We were thinking, do you know, we'll have 2 branches within months.
Right.
So we took on board his idea and we put the OGS sign up. The kebabs we were still waiting on for during manufacturing. So we thought we'd add the OGK a little later on. This guy, he came down, gave us some training on the food right at the start. A few weeks later, we had our OGS sign put up and he called us and he said, I'm really sorry, brothers. I don't want to do this with you.
Why?
Other commitments, I think. I think he's an intrapreneur. He's not an entrepreneur. By that time, we've already had our first lot of signs go up. We've announced it to our town. Then we've had those signs taken down. We've had the new ones put up. We've announced it again to our town. We delayed opening. And we just thought we have to run with it at this point.
Yeah. Are you glad that this person pulled out, or?
I'm glad he pulled out. I'm glad he pulled out. I think there would have been too much friction between us and him.
And him.
So I'm glad he pulled out.
Inshallah. And initially, I mean, your idea was Nashville chicken, right? Or was it really actually the kebabs and?
So it was going to be smash burgers and kebabs.
Okay.
We were still waiting on the kebabs. So the only thing we had on our menu was smash burgers. For 6 months, we only had smash burgers.
It was not even Nashville chicken. Where
Not
did
at this
Nashville
stage.
chicken come from?
Me and my brother were talking, and my brother mentioned that we need to put fried chicken on the menu. And we went to a place called Popeyes, and we tried their chicken, and we both said that our chicken has to be on this level.
Yeah.
If we're going to do chicken, it needs to be like this.
Yeah.
So for the next few weeks, we were trying recipes and trying to replicate this chicken, and we were nowhere near.
Wow.
We were nowhere near. At that point, the restaurant closed because of equipment failure. So we thought during the 2 weeks that it's closed, we'll nail the recipe, and when we reopen, we come back with this
New offer.
new Nashville chicken.
Yeah.
And then that never happened. My brother was staying in Egypt for a while, and one of the brothers he was staying with called him out of the blue. And he said, Hassan, I've been developing this chicken product. Bearing in mind, he's not from the food game. I've been developing this chicken product. Can I come down and show you? So he came down to the restaurant. We cooked the chicken, and this was like, and this was like nothing any of us have had before. As soon as we tasted it, we said, "This is it. This is our Nashville chicken." The problem now was, we asked to place an order, and he was still manufacturing the product. And I think it was going to take another 1 to 2 months. So we had to leave the restaurant closed.
Wow. While paying rent?
Whilst paying rent. Whilst trying to retain staff. And these sorts of things.
Did you do that? Did you close for 2 months?
It was around 2 months.
Okay, so that chicken the brother developed, is that the chicken you're selling today?
That's the chicken we have today.
Allahumma barak.
You know, he came down to us a few months ago.
Yeah.
And to drop off a delivery. And he had some chicken before he went. And he said to my brother, how are you guys cooking this? Because I supply this to other people, but it doesn't taste like yours.
Really? So you guys have your own secret sauce on top of whatever is given you?
Uh-huh. But that's a trade secret.
No, I'm with you, but is it because you're adding something else, or is it how you're cooking it, or is it?
There's a mixture.
There's an extra mixture.
There's things you can add.
Okay.
Or take away.
Okay.
There's ways to cook.
Allahumma barak. MashaAllah. But you still, alhamdulillah, this brother is still your supplier. Walillah alhamd. So he's able to build his business on top of your business. And you're able to build your business with his business. How beautiful is that? Allahumma barak. May Allah bless that for you both.
Ameen.
That's amazing. Wow. Okay. So now the Nashville chicken has become the flagship product of the restaurant, you say?
That's right.
That's what you're like mainly known for now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, your burgers, I mean, still are amazing because I seen those pictures.
Yeah.
We got saw some pictures of the burgers, inshallah.
I think our smash beef is the best.
Yeah.
And at the same time, our Nashville chicken is the best as well. Yeah.
Allahumma
I think we've got 2 winning products.
Can you ship some for us when you go back to the UK?
We saw something out.
Send us some.
We saw something.
I'll try those. I cannot come to the UK to try, but I'm happy to eat a burger that's been sitting for 6 hours on a plane. I don't mind. You know? Go ahead.
I was going to say our burgers do warm up well. In fact, our Nashville chicken, we could put it in the air fryer and it will come out great again.
Bro, I'll eat a burger that's been sitting till the next day, you know, or chicken. I don't mind. If it's good chicken, you know, it's crazy because in New York City, we had, I don't know if you heard of the New York KFC. Not the KFC that's popular.
Mm-hmm.
We have what we call Kennedy Fried Chicken, not Kentucky Fried Chicken. You heard about it?
I've never heard of it.
Something amazing. Something you may want to check out, actually. I had an uncle who was running one of those shops. Mm-hmm. So, growing up...
Is it a KFC?
It's called KFC, but it's Kennedy, not Kentucky. So
and KFC's let them go with the name?
It says Kennedy. It says Kennedy. It says Kennedy Fried Chicken. So we call it KFC, right? You know what I mean? Or even if they have the letters KFC there, it's Kennedy. It's understood it's Kennedy, right? Mm-hmm. But it's some super interesting chicken. You might want to check it out, inshallah, right? People love that so much. People who've been to New York and have tried it, because I've never seen it anywhere else except New York City. Loved it so much that they're willing, like if they're in other cities or states, they know somebody's going and coming, you have to buy them a box of those and bring it. So, I mean, it sounds to me like your Nashville chicken is like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Halas.
Definitely.
We're waiting for a box. Send us a box of Medina or to Dubai.
I'm going to come back in 2 or 3 months.
Bismillah.
We'll bring
Wallahi, akhi, our witness is in the room. I need my Nashville chicken. Inshallah.
I hope you're ready.
Bring it. I don't care if it's been sitting on the plane for 10 hours. Inshallah, we'll eat it, inshallah. No special packaging, nothing. Just put it and bring it the way the customer will grab it. Right? Bi-idhnillah. Okay, so flagship store coming soon, bi-idhnillah. What's the timeline on that? How long and where? Because I don't know the UK, but for people who know the UK, how long do you think before you first? Okay, tell us where the old one is exactly.
Okay.
Where is the next one gonna be located, and when do you expect that to come out?
So we're in a town called Banbury.
Okay.
Really small town.
Okay.
We're in a pedestrianised street, and that's where the current location is. If you come around the corner, you come onto the high street. And this is where all the restaurants are opening up on this high street. This is where everybody, if you're coming into Banbury, you're driving through this street at some point. So we're opening up there. We've had a few people interested in franchises as well.
Okay.
Just from trying the food. So we're planning another 3 to 4 locations in the next 6 months.
Allahu Akbar. This is after the flagship is open, of course.
After. I didn't want to open any franchise until we had our base set up. But things are moving in the background.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Allahumma barak. So for those who for those who want to have the chicken now, they can have it now anyway. It's open. It's not closed.
No.
You don't have to wait for the flagship store to open. For the franchises, obviously, you know, right now, as I understand, it's all going to be UK for now. Is that going to be different parts of the UK, like, you know, different cities? I don't know how the UK is set up, bro. So I can't access. US is states and cities, right? But I don't know how the UK is. So
we've got all our cities. There's a town next to us called Daventry.
Okay.
Very, very similar setup to our town. So we're opening a store there. And we've got another store opening near Birmingham. I like the Birmingham store because Birmingham's a bigger city. So to have your presence in a bigger city, it's a place called Walsall, just outside of Birmingham.
Okay.
And then the final location is in Worcester. It's around an hour away from Walsall.
And these are all pretty much already like set, almost, you can say, ready. They're ready to, the franchisees are already.
Yeah.
It's a done deal pretty much, Allahumma barak.
The construction's going on in the background. So
really?
The stores are being fitted out, yeah.
Oh, you made it seem like you guys were just like agreeing on so it's already being built out.
They're being built out, yeah.
Allahumma barak. Okay, that's amazing. So you already know then what is the franchise structure?
Okay.
You know that already. Like, what is the structure? Like, how much is going to cost to open one?
Yeah.
What are the fees going to be like and stuff like that?
We have the fees, franchise fees, royalties, cost to fit out a store depending on the size. We've got all the numbers together.
let's tie back together, right? You know, your journey from the eBay days, we'll call them, okay, to now franchises. That's crazy. Allahumma barak. What are the biggest lessons and takeaways you take from this journey so far?
Look, the first thing I would say, people approach me and they'll say, Danny, I want to start a business. I want to do this, or I want to open this place and I want to do this. And I say the same thing to all of them. Just practice making money first. You have to practice making 10 quid, 20 quid, 100 quid before you start making more. So you have to set up a small business. You have to do something.
Whatever that is.
Whatever that is. Something that's cheap to start and you can get customers straight away. You have to.
Why?
If you don't do this, there's so much you're going to miss out. You can't learn this stuff in school. And the only way you learn is by doing it.
What if I have a mentor like you? Who's done it? Who's gone through it?
It will accelerate you, of course. You make less mistakes, but you still won't learn for yourself.
You can never learn payroll until you do payroll.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
Even if you work at a startup, whatever, you can't.
Yeah. I mean, if you're sat with somebody trying to do a deal, I'm not there.
Right.
I can't assess his body language.
Yeah.
So there's little things like this that you only learn by selling yourself. And you have to give it time. You know, most people, they want to become a drop shipper tomorrow and a crypto trader next week.
Yeah.
You need to do, I don't agree with either of those things, by the way.
Yeah.
But you need to do one thing and you need to do it for 5 to 10 years.
Oof. That's too long. What are you telling me? 5 to 10 years? Nobody got that kind of time. I need to make money quickly.
I don't think you can cheat the game. You'll get caught out along the way.
So there's no shortcut to
There's no
success.
shortcuts, no.
You have to go through the process, pay your fees, pay your dues, your tuition, like they say.
The rent's
you
due.
got to pay anyway. The rent is due, you got to pay it, right?
Of course.
Allahumma barak. You started a business not knowing anything about business in that sense. Okay, what do I mean? Yes, you bought some stuff, you sold it, you tried this and Allahumma barak, which definitely was, you know, these things teach you, right? But you walked into a building, into a store and say, I'm going to set up a business here. And I know what I want to do. Like, I have the skills. You have some skills. You're not even seasoned at that point, right? We can say, really. But I'm going to rent it out and I'm going to start a store. If you were to go, and then also the restaurant game, which there's a correlation here because you were not in the restaurant business. Your brother was not. Okay, yes, you did. You know, you worked at Subway when you were young. So you have some experience. Alhamdulillah, that translate. But really,
I'll make a good sandwich now, by the way.
Allahumma barak.
I'll make a good sandwich.
We gotta try that one too. Yeah, we gotta try that one too. But you know, really though, like you did both of these things without any prior experience. If you could go back to your younger self, or if someone was in your position, would you say go ahead and open that store? If someone wants to start a restaurant today, like I told you, like I'm interested in food. I'm interested in, like I love good food. I love hospitality. Like I just love serving people and making them happy and seeing, you know, like I know that I'm sure you know the feeling. I can see when someone eats that chicken and you see the reaction. It's like, you know, you've made it. But if I want, you know, but I know that's not, I don't have experience in that. And I've had naysayers tell me, no, you cannot open a restaurant because you have no knowledge. But you've done it. So what would you say, advise someone who's in that position who want to start a restaurant, a phone repair shop, a coffee shop? I want to open a coffee shop, by the way, as well. A juice bar. You see, I love the food stuff. What would you advise that person?
So you want to open a juice bar with no experience in the juice bar business?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you did it with the phones, you did it with the restaurant.
You just need a good partner. See, I'm blessed because we've got a strong team amongst our brothers, and everyone needs to be able to do something really well as well.
But did any of you have food experience?
One of my brothers did.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's worked in restaurants.
As what?
Everything. In the kitchen, in the front. So he's worked in restaurants.
Now it makes sense. Allahu Barak. So, you know what you just said now, subhanAllah? Big companies like Y Combinator who fund and invest in startups, this is one of the things they look for.
Mhm.
If you come and you pitch your business and your idea, let's say you're doing something in biotechnology,
Mhm.
they'll say, if you don't have experience in biotechnology, you better come with a partner who does. And I'm taking
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
that's what you're saying now.
Mhm.
You don't have this. So you're telling me if I want to open a coffee shop today or a juice bar,
Mhm.
like I know what good juice tastes like.
Mhm.
I know where the best spots are. I've tried it.
And that's important.
Right, that's important. But you're saying I still need a partner though who has some experience in that.
Mhm.
Yeah?
Mhm. And you can learn. You can go in and try it. You'll make mistakes, but you come out better and you will learn. But if you want to accelerate the growth, then you want the partner with you.
Okay. But if I don't have a partner, what would you advise me? Go ahead and do it or don't do it?
Start small.
Start small.
Again, start small. Just start something. Set a table up, make some juices in your house.
Give it out for free?
You can give it out for free. Just start today, start small.
Oh, about it.
And one thing I would say as well, going back, sales is sales no matter what you sell. So what I've realized now is whether you're selling watches, phones, burgers, or franchise deals, it's always the same.
It's all sales.
Mhm.
Marketing and sales. Like you said, you've been a marketer for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I'm noticing something amongst almost every single entrepreneur I speak to before I did that. And the key, some of the things that keep repeating themselves is that learn sales, learn marketing, learn sales, learn marketing. Because without these two, you can't do nothing.
No.
You could have the best Nashville chicken in the world, the best smash burgers. If nobody knows about it, it's not going to go anywhere.
Of course.
Right? So, sales and marketing. All right. So, I think, bro, this feels like we've only been talking for 10 minutes. Like, I want to do. So, I'm going to ask
how
you
long
now,
has it been?
I don't even know, maybe like hour and change for
Okay.
sure. Right?
Okay.
So, that means part 2 we're going to have to do, inshallah, at some point.
Definitely.
But because of the tightness of time, last piece of advice. What would be your advice to other Muslims, who want to start their businesses, or just any general advice? What would be your advice? Anything. Take it as far as you want to take it also.
Take risks.
Take risks.
See, starting the phone repair business was a risk for me. I could have got a job and had my salary.
That would feel
and it would have been
safer.
fine. Starting the restaurant was a huge risk for me. I could have bought a G-Wagon, a Lamborghini, and cashed a house. But instead we opened a restaurant. But I think without risks, I don't think it's that fun. So that would be my key advice. Take risks.
Okay. Franchises are a risk.
Of course
they can mess up your brand.
Of course it is.
Take risks.
But if I don't take the risk with the franchises, we'll never grow to more than a couple of stores.
Right. How do you mitigate risk if you take it?
These are some of the things you learn along the way. This is why you start small.
Okay.
Because you learn how to vet people. You learn who would be a good partner, who may not be a good partner. And the other thing I would say is you can't be excited by money. As soon as money excites you, you'll make stupid decisions, emotional decisions. So I would say don't let the money excite you. It's not that exciting anyway.
SubhanAllah. Bro, we just had Lamborghinis and McLarens yesterday. That's not exciting.
That's the first time I rented a car.
You told me. That's crazy, bro. That's crazy. Allahu Mubarak. Look, we got some masterminds coming after Hajj, I told you.
Okay.
We need you, inshallah.
Just send me a message.
We need you, bi'idhnillah. It's going to be Medina, so you got to come out.
Okay.
I think there's so much, my goal with this podcast really, and I told you, I think yesterday, I want to highlight the Muslim entrepreneurs and their businesses. And what I hope to get out of that is to inspire, the young Muslims to know what's possible, to take risks, to be builders. And of course, also at the same time, I want them to, support the Muslim businesses, right? Like if we don't know about your business, how are we going to support it? So I want people to be able to do that. And so the inspiration, this inspiration piece of it and the teaching piece of it is something I'm really, really hoping to get out of this. Bi'idhnillah azza wa jal, we will share, all the links that you provide us, your socials, your location. I want the Google Maps location, bro.
I'll send
Exact
them over.
coordinates, okay?
I'll send them over.
And hopefully, people can go and check out the, the Nashville chicken, the burgers, and everything else. And we look forward to the franchises here in the Middle East. We got to make that happen.
You know, we've got a few brothers from here. They're coming over to the UK in the next couple of months
To check it out.
Yeah, they're going soon. Bro.
Halas, let's make it happen.
Definitely.
Anything we can do to help. I got some people in Medina now
Okay.
already in the food business.
Okay.
I'm interested in like I said, I'm interested in myself, but we'll talk about that and then I'll speak to these brothers and see. I'm sure we'll lack something in for Medina.
And this is something.
Also.
And this is something I love here. This culture.
Yeah.
Is
entrepreneurial.
We don't get this
brothers
in the UK.
together. This is what we're trying to foster, really. This even the thing I'm telling you, we're going to do in Medina after Hajj bi'idhnillah. This is the whole idea. It's like, let's just bring people like you and I in the room. Let's be entrepreneurial. Let's be brothers first and foremost for the sake of Allah and take it there. So I have and we're going to wrap up. I know time, but I have a tradition here. And after I mention this, I would like to hear something from you as far as how your Islam has shaped your business, right?
Okay.
Put that in a sentence or whatever it is, right? Because we didn't touch on that. So, but what I try to do on the podcast, on every single episode, I want to remind myself and everybody watching, bi'idhnillah azza wa jal, that at the end of the day, all of this, I think we spoke about this yesterday, everything we're doing, really, all of this is just, the ultimate goal is to please Allah azza wa jal. Hopefully, when we die, we get to Jannah. So we do the business, we do the entrepreneurship, we do all these things that we're doing, but it's not about the cars. It's not about, the money, like you just said, barakallah feek. It's not even about, having 100 buildings or businesses. It's not about that, right? At the end of the day, we have responsibilities, we have families, we have an ummah that needs builders, that needs people to spend, right? Like the likes of Uthman bin Affan, Rahman ibn Auf, Abu Bakr, right? Radiallahu anhum, all of them spent for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jalla, and we cannot spend that which you don't have. So what I try to remind myself and everyone is that at the end of the day, success is in the hands of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Success, rizq is guaranteed, not success, but rizq is guaranteed by Allah Azza wa Jalla. It's written. None of us will die until we take every single thing that was written for us. My brother will never take my risk. I will never take his risk, no matter what. I can come and open Nashville fried chicken right next to you, bro. I will only take mine, you will only take yours. But the reminder I like to bring is ayat from the Quran that, all of us have either read, heard, memorized, that we really need to pay attention to, because we go to sleep, most of us, just as human beings, thinking about our risk. We wake up thinking about it, right? And we go about our days thinking about it. Like that becomes a center, lil asaf, right? It is what it is, because we have to seek it. But Allah Azza wa Jal has given us a guarantee and a promise. He will take care of this. Or if we just meet one or two conditions. What are those? Allah Azza wa Jal says in the Quran, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. And whoever fears Allah, whoever has taqwa of Allah Azza wa Jal, He will make a way out for them out of every difficulty. This is what was making me think about the situation you were going through in your young years. Was Allah Azza wa Jal was making a way out. Now, when you struggle in business, we're always looking for what? A way out. Can I pay the rent? Can I get the licenses you need? Whatever it is. Even being stuck in traffic while you have a place to get to. You need a way out. Who can make a way out for you? Allah. وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. Whoever fears Allah, He will make a way out of every difficulty. وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبْ. And He will provide for him from where he couldn't even imagine. Just like at the end of every month, you and I both experienced this. The rent came. بِفَضْلِ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. Always. Allah provided from ways we couldn't even imagine. It happens. But the condition is taqwa. وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلَ عَلَى اللَّهِ. And whoever put their trust in Allah, فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. Allah will suffice them. Whoever Allah has sufficed doesn't need anyone, doesn't need anything else. Right? They sufficed. They have everything they need. So this is a reminder for myself and for the brothers, for everyone, sisters. When you go into business or whatever else you're doing in life, go back to having taqwa and tawakkul. Put these two together, and I guarantee you, you will be successful. You'll go through challenges and tests and trials. That's guaranteed also in this life. But success will be yours bi-idhnillahi azza wa jal. How has your religion shaped you in your entrepreneurship today?
Somebody said something to me recently, and we were talking about the restaurant and what it's costing to set up and get ready. And they said to me, everything is happening by the will of Allah.
Absolutely. It was already pre-decreed, all written. But you still take that asbab.
Mm-hmm.
And you make sure that you run your business
Of
according
course.
to what pleases Allah. You sell that which is halal.
Mm-hmm.
And you seek that as
Look, especially in the UK, most takeaways, music, girls, interest, buying buildings, but we've kept away from all of it.
Allahumma barak. Ask Allah to bless you,
Ameen.
your brothers, your parents, your business, and make your business one of the household brands in this world.
Ameen.
And keep it halal. Barakallah feek. I appreciate you. We just met yesterday. It took time. You trusted us, came out here. Jazakallah khairan. I look forward to the chicken, to the burgers, and to doing part 2 bi-idhnillah into the franchises.
Ooh.
I appreciate you. Jazakallah khairan. And give my salam to your brother who's not here.
I will
Can't
do.
wait to meet him.
I'll bring
inshallah.
him next time.
Inshallah.
I'll bring him next time.
Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Jazakallah khair.